I think we're
so
live.
lesson learned. You can't stay in that. You can't stay in that mode for more than 5 minutes.
Yeah, we're learning all sorts of new stuff here, guys. Never stop learning. We were trying to set the preview up for the show and get started early, so we started on time, and it kept dying on us. So we had to set it up 3 times. We just didn't want to be late again. We were late last week, so. Well, hi everyone. This is Matt Duren. I'm here with Suzie Grieco from recruitDC, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about a few different topics. I think we talked about kind of justifying or defending your position. We'll get into that in a little bit. Suzie, how else do we want to start things off?
Sure. Well, why don't we do a quick introduction, only because of the fact that for those who are joining us who may not know us already from our participation as board members of recruitDC and maybe met us in past events, a little bit background about me. I own a recruiting agency, RPO recruiting agency called SG2 Recruiting with a partner, a business partner. And we do recruiting for small, large organizations based on here in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area, a variety of different types of skill sets, primarily in the clear technology space, and more recently in the sort of strategic strategy types of management consulting types of positions as well. So give you a little bit of an understanding as to perspective is the advice that I'm giving is from that paradigm. Sorry.
That's all right.
All right, Matt.
It's good. And I think maybe we want to hit, I think it's your screen, hit maybe gallery view. So we have both of us on the screen at the same time. When I look at the preview, it's just you, which is fine. It's perfect, but
okay.
Nobody wants to see me anyway. I'll tell you in a minute when we catch up. There's a little bit of a delay. But anyway, again, Matt Duren. I work at Tenable in Columbia, Maryland. And I am the senior manager of talent acquisition. I focus on both the recruiting of engineers in the industry for security software engineers. But I also head up the employment branding and recruitment marketing piece, which is becoming a ever increasing part of my job in this kind of period of time. And we'll talk about some of that too. But I've been recruiting since 2001, right out of college. And I right now lead a small team, but I've been an individual contributor as well, and still like to do the hands-on recruiting. Try not to get too far away from it, but yeah, hopefully we can add some value to a variety of topics we'll cover here today and over the coming weeks. And I think we're good now on the dual monitor on Zoom.
Okay. Again, for those
I hate being that big. I don't want to be that big on the screen.
For those of us who are new to this, this is our 3rd week. The first one was the test. The first one was a test. Last week was our sort of inaugural event. This is our 2nd go round. For those of you who are, and I'm going to shout out to Sue and to Prina. Look at my background. I am officially now in the Zoom paradigm. I have a backdrop, so next time I'm going to try to find some way to make it move. But right now, just the basics. So I'm really excited to be here today to talk about this particular topic, and hopefully something that'll be interesting for those who are watching.
And I'm still hanging on to the May the 4th be with you.
Which I definitely got that. That's
had a good day. We all had our t-shirts on that day, and we watched The Rise of Skywalker. I watched the last episode of the Clone Wars. It was good. I enjoyed that. Tied a lot of things together. So, all right. So how do we want to start here? Just want to throw the question out there.
Yeah, I think Matt came across a question that I thought was really intriguing, and I thought it would we could share our perspectives, his from a corporate perspective, mine from more of an agency perspective, about what we need to be doing as recruiters to defend our jobs. For those of us who weren't here last week, we noticed that there was an increase in the number of recruiters who were sort of let go from their positions due to COVID. And for those of us who are in our roles, maybe perhaps there were some suggestions that we could share to help you sort of maintain maintain the work that you're doing, and perhaps ensure that your colleagues, your peers, your clients, your boss sees the value of what you're doing even during these sort of slower recruiting times.
Yeah, and the post, and I wish I could credit it. I'm sorry, I didn't capture it. It was in one of the recruiting groups out there, and it was kind of a scary post, right? I mean, the person sitting there, I feel I need to now justify my job to my boss and my boss's boss and things like that. And it sounded like they were going through a hiring freeze or something was happening. There's a lot of things, right? There's hiring freezes. There's people being laid off. They're just because you can't go to work or you can't do the work, the company can't do the work. They can't function in recruiting. And I started thinking, what are some things that we need to do? And that's when I kind of turned on, my branding hat a little bit. If you're not doing the recruiting aspect of things, what else can you do? Yeah. And a lot of it is starting to tell stories, right? I mean, if your company does have a Facebook or a Twitter or Instagram or something like that, to start kind of gathering stories that you think you should or could share. There's a lot of elements of things going on, and it doesn't have to be strictly related to the the events happening now. You just want to keep it down to the core of your organization. Share things about the mission and values of your organization and what they mean now. But there's also other things. I mean, Suzie, this is gonna be different for you because it's harder for you to do this. But there are a lot of places that say go find a way to participate in the business. If you have a sales team, go see if you can join the sales organization for a little while, learn more about the business, take the time to learn more, because as a recruiter, the more you know about the business, the better you're going to be able to sell when you do get back to whatever normal is. But I don't know about your thoughts. You're from an agency side.
And to be honest with you, I'm doing that. So if I have to say the one thing that differentiates me as an agency recruiter is I'm using this time to actually promote our services, which is not something as a corporate recruiter you would necessarily do. But I'm engaging in the business development activities that sometimes takes a back seat to the actual support of our clients, and fine tuning our messaging, actually even finding a way to get our clients to be the referrals for future business. Yeah. Definitely that is maybe the difference, but it's a nuance. You're going to your sales teams. I'm taking more sales initiatives, business development initiatives.
And it is still going out there and connecting with people, right? I mean, you can still recruit in this time. Right. The jobs are going to get turned back on eventually, depending on your industry and what it looks like. There's nothing wrong with whether it's corporate or agency side, still actively recruiting people. So right. That's what you say to your management. Like, we're going to turn this back on eventually. Do you want us to start from scratch, or do you want us to be kind of ramping up and as the wheels start moving, we just jump right on versus, starting from a dead stop and trying to ramp up? Because at some point you're going to talk to your managers and say, well, where are all of our candidates? We opened these jobs 3 weeks ago when you could be putting people in their inboxes day one.
We did something similar. Like when we realized there was going to be a little bit of a slowdown, we started assessing our actual recruiting process and where were the changes we wanted to make that we had not had time because we were in the middle of it. And there was no opportunity, I don't want to say to have a hard stop in that process to sort of make that shift. And I'm not saying it's a hard stop now, but it is slow enough where we can do things simultaneously and make that shift and make that process change without losing data or losing functionality. Yep. So that has been one of the things that I have to say I'm enjoying about this, because we are taking the time to learn about the technologies that can help us do that, where we just didn't have a time to integrate them. And we're doing that now. So assessing available technology that's going to improve our process moving forward, which is something, again, if you're defending your job, it's sort of like, I don't think the salesperson is going to review, recruiting technology. I, as a recruiter, can do that better, more so than anyone else on this team, assessing that. And there's so much out there. There are entire organizations and conferences dedicated to recruiting technology. You have no idea, but that can, in and of itself, can take almost a month alone. And you're identifying ways not only to save your time, but perhaps even money if you're able to reduce the cost of the tools that you're using, because you're finding greater efficiencies. Yep. So again, dual purpose.
Yeah, and calling out some of the comments and the questions. Michael Heller, hey Mike, how you doing, man?
Hey,
Um,
Mike.
but Michael, I don't think he goes by Mike. I don't know why I called him Mike.
Michael,
But
sorry.
yeah, he mentioned examining processes, right? So tighten up your interview process, tighten up some things in your ATS that have been driving you crazy. Redo your messaging. Build new templates to your outbound stuff. Build new templates for your sourcing capabilities. There's a lot of new things that you could be doing to get to things that, as Michael points out in his comment, that you just didn't have time for before. And be ready to do some of that stuff. And again, when things start back up, you're ready to go. You don't have to worry about this.
Right. One of the in terms of, you mentioned earlier, candidate engagement. This is the time where, instead of, and again, I say this from an agency side, because I think that we tend to be victims of this type of recruiting, which we shouldn't be, where we're doing bulk emails out because we have a short period of time to try to find that job because we're competing against perhaps other recruiting agencies who are trying to fill a particular spot, is to finding ways to engage those star candidates that you may have missed out on because of the fact that you're doing a bulk mail. They recognize it as a bulk mail, and so they're not going to respond to you. So if you have your best athlete candidates, is maybe finding new ways to engage them that's more personalized than the bulk emails we tend to do when we're trying to, when we've got the 24, 48-hour turnaround as agency recruiters to do that.
Yep. Yeah, and I was talking to somebody on my team today, and what he's going to do right now. We're still recruiting and actively recruiting a few roles. But we know we're going to have more of these tough roles that we had. And he's like, I'm just going to go back to people we made offers to who may have declined, just to check in and see what's going on. Ask them if we wanted him at one point, right? Let's go back to him and say, hey, just wanted to check out and see how you're doing. I know you went with somebody else. Just want to see how that's going. Because if it's somebody we really wanted, it's for a critical role. We can either, justify to come in and try to get an offer out to somebody that we know is going to be that game changer, or at least have that conversation with that person to know, hey, give us a couple of weeks. If you're having second thoughts there, or you're not comfortable with where your position sits today, or maybe you lost it already, please go find something that you can do, but know that I'll be over here seeing if I can get you to come back on our side and what that might look like.
Fantastic. Are you, just out of curiosity, are you including your hiring managers in that sort of informational discussion? Because I've actually found myself talking my hiring managers just to proactively engage the candidate, even though the opportunity, and I'm making sure that the candidate's expectations are in line with this is informational, but are you incorporating your hiring managers in those?
Yeah. So 2 points there, right? Definitely want to make sure you lay your cards out. Just say, hey, we don't have it open right now.
Right.
But I want to have those conversations because, at some point we're going to, be able to play again. But yeah, we just talking to it today, we said, yeah, let's see if we can get the hiring managers involved too. Just if they want to be, I'm not going to force them into that because they have their own problems to deal with. Right. I mean, maybe their staff was impacted as well, or they have harsh deliverables to meet now. Even if you're not able to be fully staffed, you got to spread that work around. Maybe they're doing some hands-on stuff, or maybe they got kids as well and can't do it during the day. But getting them involved with it and just saying, can you take a look at it? I know we can't do anything now, but what do you think? Is this somebody we want to get back to? If it's a new candidate or the return candidate, it doesn't hurt to involve a few folks in it. And that way you're showing the candidates, showing your managers that, hey, I'm still looking out for your team. I'm still looking out for the company. We may not be able to do anything today, but when we're ready, can you help me out here so we can all be ready to go as soon as the jobs open back up?
That's fantastic.
Steve Levy's on there. He says, never lie. Tell the truth.
Right. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's the worst.
And he also said, think about recruiting in terms of continuous improvement. Look at your strategic planning model, how recruiting integrated into your business processed as noted earlier, systems, metrics. The key here is that the finish line for 100% is always moving. Absolutely. And Steve's a nice guy.
And that's something that one of the things that we are doing as well is we are cleaning up our database. And I don't know if that's necessarily true from a corporate perspective, but because of the metrics we have to do or run at the end of every month for our clients, those metrics sort of drive whether or not, they want to continue working with us or have we been successful on their behalf. And we realized when we're working at a breakneck speed, we're not necessarily doing our due diligence. We're doing half of the work that makes our database accurate.
Yeah.
But when we go to run our numbers, we spend so much time realizing we just didn't have the data. We never put the data in, and then having to research it. This is the time that I think we're making sure that our data is getting entered in properly and cleaning that data process, cleaning that data as well simultaneously.
Yeah, we've had a lot of ourselves. We have what was called a general application. If you don't see anything that's on the site that you want to apply for, and it just goes into a bucket
right.
over on the side. And we've been kind of pulling in some things. I found myself doing some searches on some stuff just to, either qualify some of those folks. And there's no positions, there's no workflow on it, but it's qualifying them, setting them up, tagging them. So if I ever do a search down the line, I know I got that tag in my head and I have it documented somewhere and I can go back to it. But yeah, I mean, you're gonna need to run reports, and if you got time to clean up the database and update people and make it the way you need it to be to operate efficiently. But yeah, it's a good way to spend your time.
That's awesome.
Steve, what did you say? Recruit? Oh, he had an autocorrect somewhere. That's okay. It's live. But
I'm not even sure I even know what that means.
Well, he meant recruiting is integrated. I think he said something else. But don't worry about it. We know what he meant. But yeah, so we've got to reset some things. I know we have new viewers. I appreciate everybody coming on. Again, Matt Duren, Suzie Grieco, we're from recruitDC, board of directors that sadly we can't be with you guys in a couple of weeks. We were doing some stuff on our website today. We realized the countdown for May is still there, and kind of got a little sad that 14 days away from here we were supposed to be together.
It's so hard to believe. A year ago this time we were crazy busy planning for that event.
Yeah, but yeah, we just we felt like coming online. We're gonna do this a couple of times every couple of weeks. We're gonna get together, come up with some topics, come up with some questions that we've seen out in the last couple of weeks, and try to address some of those topics because they're real topics, and people don't necessarily get the answers to everything. I don't know if you can hear my wife sneezing in the background. Thanks a lot. This is the new normal, right? Kids, wives, pets. The cat just made a sound earlier. You probably heard that too. But yeah, I mean, share the story, share some information, and hopefully we get some people that want to come on with us, and we can kind of do a triple screen here. It's not just me, Suzie, and my beard, as I think Steve mentioned earlier as well. We want to bring other people on and share some other perspectives as well.
Fantastic.
All right.
I didn't know if there was, one of the, and I'm pulling this out because I know Pete was with us last week, and I recently read an article which made me think about, how do you pull in your hiring managers to get them engaged? The urgency may not be there as much now, but trying to find, I thought it was a great article. So Pete, if you're listening, kudos to a well stated article. I'm actually using it to send to my clients, and I'm in an agency perspective, and they tend not to work as closely with me as an agency as they would if I was an internal. There's sort of not that need. It's sort of like, that's your job. Why am I doing your job? I'm paying you to do your job, which is a horrible attitude to have. But I'm using your article to sort of support my conversations with even my clients to say, at some point, we can only take some candidates to point, not to the finish line. We can't get them to the finish line. We need your input to do that. And it's a little bit harder now, but during this time frame, but it's going to be something that I'm going to continue to utilize even beyond, post COVID. I hate to say post COVID, but yeah, it's post COVID, post these trying times.
That's right. And something else I remember we're talking about it, and we've been putting some more effort into this too, is a little bit more interview training. We want to make sure
that's a good one.
There's new things, new tactics, new instances that we have to make sure people are prepared for as well. And there's obviously some old mistakes that people make too. So make sure we get those corrected and give some guidance on what to expect with more. We've done a lot of virtual interviews in our time. We've had Zoom in our organization for about 2 years now, and we've used it as a video interviewing platform. So we're okay with that, but it's more about don't worry about some of the things related to when they can come into the office. Let's put, because we don't know what that's going to look like. We'll have to tackle that down the line. Prina actually asked a question. Are you guys finding people are a little hesitant to move right now? How are you tackling that?
Actually, I integrate that in my first conversations with the candidate. Part of it is helping them envision what happens if we were to move forward with an offer. So I do tell them more than likely their current employer is going to say, this isn't a good time to move. We are a group that you feel safe with. We want you to stay. So it's the same argument of making sure that they're prepared for a counter, but for a counter that includes the only reasoning is us. It's an unsure world out there. And to sort of counteract that with some specific examples of how successful the transition has been for the people we've already onboarded. Yeah. So, and as long as you have those examples, it works. I just don't know if you don't have those examples, or what you can do, except for help them envision what it's like on a step-by-step process.
Yeah, it's going to be a tougher sell. If somebody's set in their job, it's going to take a lot more to get somebody to take that risk. It's not a great time to be taking risks. But the only thing you can really do is understand the industry that they're in today, if it's different from the one that you're in. And I would never say paint a fear-mongering picture of their industry, right? But I mean, identify some things that you think being in your industry might benefit over what they're in today. Then you're down to the job, then you're down to the people, and you're down to how other people have been treated in the organization, which again gets back to your branding and your storytelling. And I think it was Mark Cuban, right? I think it's been overly quoted over the last couple of weeks, but talking about how you treat your employees today during this time is going to be with you for a good 10 years. Yeah,
totally
10
agree.
years or more. We're not talking about recruiting, next week, next month, next year. We're talking about how the companies are set up to do it in the next decade, basically.
Now, Matt, do you have responsibilities for onboarding your employees as well, or is that a separate function?
It's separate. I mean, we're obviously along the way, right? I mean, I've been working just an example, one of our new hires coming up in the next, I guess it's Monday, right? He was stuck in India and wasn't, you got to think about these things, right? We got
right.
equipment. He's here in the States, but he was in India when this went down, and he's not been able to get back. I've been on the phone with that guy, a couple times a week just to make sure we're doing things. And I'm tracking his shipment. We've shipped his laptop to him, and I'm tracking that just to make sure that it's going to get there on time, and figuring out what we do if we don't. So yeah, I've been paying a lot more attention to that piece, but it is handled by some folks on our HR team. Our IT team takes a role in that as well.
One of the things that sort of has me a little nervous is some of my candidates. The recruiting process has been fairly seamless. Like they're doing the interviews. I think they keep describing, I feel like I'm going to be starting a whole new job once I meet the team in person. Like, you got to wonder, like, will I have to account at some point that there's going to be a drop off when the people actually go in for the first time and determine whether or not they like the environment or not? Like, I'm hoping that's not going to make a big difference, but that's a question that note to self is track that when everyone starts, like a month into it, after everyone's gone back, the COVID restrictions have been lifted. If there's a significant drop off in sort of the remorse felt by the candidates who made the switch.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see that play out. I mean, it could be good interesting or bad interesting, but it's something you got to, again, keep in mind. And again, back to our topic of justifying some of that, it's hey, what do we think we're going to see. Let's project out to the future. Let's try to predict, some things that we need to make sure we're doing as we get back together, because it's not going to be an all in, right? Not one company's going to have everybody show up on day one. We keep hearing this staggered work week or something related to, some people are in, some people are out, and that's going to impact your interviews as well. But it's going to impact how the new hires that have been made in this time, can integrate with the teams, and they're going to be used to working one way, this remote way, and now we're going to put them back into the same room. Maybe I think you're still going to see that element of remote mix into that, and I think the recruiter should be able to step up and maybe partner with your HR team to make sure that the managers and the workforce is prepared for whatever it is, whatever contingencies we're going to see coming up.
Right.
So do some research, do some studies, try to see what you think might happen. Be the one that they come to for some of these questions and some of these thoughts and opinions.
And from an agency perspective too, you may not necessarily have control over the client's, process, but making sure you stay in touch with your candidate so you can address any concerns before they become your client's concerns on site. That's going to be something that I think I will definitely watch.
Yep. Yeah, and I want to call out Ben Gockin. He posted a link in there for some training resources, a LinkedIn talent blog for how to develop a training program for your recruiting team right now.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
So thanks for sharing that one, Ben. But yeah, it's definitely time for learning, but and reflection on past processes, but you want to keep your eye forward as well, and try to tackle what your new normal might be. I think a lot to think about. You could spend all day writing notes and theories and having conversations with people, which I think is a good thing. Find the time for somebody to have a conversation with, your HR leader or your recruiting leader, or, anybody that you support on a regular basis. They may have questions. You may have answers.
Right. Something you didn't anticipate.
Yep. So, all right. Well, I think we're winding down here. We got a couple minutes left here. Any parting thoughts, Suzie? Anything you want to wrap up?
No, I think one of the things is, if we have agency or corporate recruiters, if there are suggestions or recommendations regarding topics that they would like to see, I think that would be something just to sort of make sure that everyone realizes it's an inclusive environment. We are not favoring one or the other, just showcasing the differences of our perspectives in this format or in this forum is something that we would encourage. So we may come to you, for those people that we know, and ask for topics that may be relevant that we can address.
Yeah. And I would say, don't get caught off guard. Be ready for whatever happens. If you think you're out there having to justify your job, make sure you take the steps to take care of yourself. I don't want it to sound bleak or doomsday-ish, but make sure you got a next step to take. But there's also a few of the resources out there. I think there's a few sites that have been kind of pulled together some recruiting resources. I think it's called Recruiters Recruiting Recruiters. There's a couple of sites that have been pulled together for recruiting resources to see who's hiring and what they can do, and we'll link back to those a little bit.
And I don't know if you mentioned this last time, but talentpipe.org is set up specifically for those who were impacted by COVID. I don't know if Recruiters Recruiting Recruiters is unique to this time frame, if you will. I haven't had a chance to really review their offering, but the talentpipe.org is a nonprofit group, free for both job posts and for the people who are job seekers. But I think it's a similar notion, which is helping recruiters who may be thinking about what's next for unexpected reasons to take a look at.
Yep. Ben just popped in the link in the comments. Appreciate that again. Thanks for having our back.
For which one?
Recruiters recruiting recruiters.
Okay.
Say that 3 times fast. To see what you can do.
I mean, the organization was set up by some, thought leaders in our industry. So yeah. I'm super excited about that.
Yeah, there's a lot of good names mixed in with that. So it's something I would certainly put some weight on for being accurate. And I saw a little post that talks about candidate experience in that, and especially for recruiters. It's it's good to be on that side of things and kind of get some perspective of how candidates are treated. Treat them nicely all the
Right.
time,
Absolutely.
all the time. All right. Well, great. Suzie, again, it's been great. I've spent about 2 hours with you today, right? We had a meeting earlier,
yes.
and
All things
we've done this
right now.
I gotta go make up that time.
My next step is to learn how to get Facebook comments so I can see them, since I am totally in a void. All I'm doing is watching you on Zoom. So that's good.
Sorry to hear that.
That steep learning curve that I'm just going through. But
that's one thing you all find on Netflix is the Matt Duren story. It'll be very interesting.
Fantastic.
But,
all right. So till what, 2 weeks from now, or
yeah.
right now, 2 weeks from now, at least that's the cadence we're thinking about for this particular live chat. So it was great talking to you.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for joining us. Have a great week.
Take care.